to do is do enough undergraduate research to move in that direction and understand why you want to do it, right? So it's really, it's not like, that's why I was teasing you about, doesn't matter which major in really. You can do anything with it as long as you plan it out, right? So I know people that are in medical school that majored in arts, music, and dance, political science, biology, neuroscience, chemistry, physics, just about anything. Even ideas, which is kind of an odd major.
Literary studies to talk about poetry.
Right, so I know people that went to graduate school in the sciences who had undergraduate degrees in all kinds of things. But if you choose a graduate school path one day along the line, you have to have intensive undergraduate research experience. Right, so we're going to talk about that in a while, maybe. We'll see if that's the path people are interested in. All right? But I want you to pick a freshman seminar from this list. So if you don't have your computer jump next to somebody, I want you to pick one A and one B, you know, like an alternate, at least two. And then let's talk about some of those. So let's see, what is Oxford up at all?
It's freshman course seminars.
Freshman seminars are not up. Okay, so let's let you do something else then. Pick one course towards your prospective major. A prospective major.
So we're choosing a course
For Oxford students.
So Oxford students are choosing all courses.
Choose something else. Like pick another one. Something
I don't know. That's exactly where it's something.
something to explore maybe.
Yes.
Right? And explore because something you'd like to try out.
Oh, Dr. Moss.
And I can tell you that some of those too.
So I went
Okay.
Harvard. All of the institutions by one for my sophomore year. One of the courses
Yeah, so you can't do that.
Okay.
You have to file before.
I could use my file.
What is the course? Foundation of University.
And it's campus.
Yeah, by the way, prerequisites, currently, the registrar is actually coded into the system that if a course has a prerequisite and you don't have it, you can't enroll. But some faculty will let you override that. So, but you need to ask me about it because it might not be a good idea. It depends on the course. And it depends on you, and it depends on your background.
So like, how when what if you end up taking that your freshman year and just because the names are as of right now, you're still like
Okay. So that's a good question that everybody might be thinking about. So she asked about calculus, 111, 115. What if you decide, what if you go ahead and take it and then it doesn't, actually your major doesn't end up requiring it? Well, you have to take a math course anyway, right? But a more interesting beginning course for first-year students, unless they want to major in physics, might be QTM 100. And there's a lab section of it that is going to use all the biological problems. So
We got swag.
QTM 100 might be a different choice. It won't hurt you to take math, right? But what I don't want you to do is take math and biology and chemistry and like I don't want 5 courses, 3 of which are science courses and are really hard. So you got to pick 2. Pick 2. Yes.
Is the math QTM required for biology majors?
Yes. It is now, as of this fall. Math QTM 100 is required. I personally think you need more statistics than that if you want to go into research in medicine, but QTM 100 is a good start. I also think that if all those pre-med hands that were up a while ago, that you need to think about starting to read medical journals. Then you'll know why I said that.
Can you override the prerequisite to take chem for biology?
You can, it may or may not be a good idea. So why do you want to do that?
Okay.
Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take bio instead of chemistry first?
I'm very comfortable in biology and not so much in chem.
Yeah. But there's an awful lot of chemistry in biology, in the first year of biology. Okay, and there's also a number of studies that suggest that high school GPA and high school chemistry courses predict success in biology. Right? So if you're uncomfortable with chemistry, you might want to do the chemistry first, even though you don't like it. Right? You can explore biology another way by taking the freshman seminar or some other kind of, you know, and there doesn't have to be a biology freshman seminar, there's a couple of them. It could be an anthropology freshman seminar like that one on vaccines and society. You know, it could be a biologically based freshman seminar. It might be another way to do that, and go ahead and get the chemistry done even though you hate it. Because you might start enjoying it.
I'm looking at the GERs right now, and for HAL courses, or no, I'm sorry, HAP, you have to take 4, right? And 2 of those are language, so those are the 2 HAL courses.
Yeah, don't ask me why they gave them such
So,
acronyms, but they did.
so really it's just 2 language, which is the HAL, and then 2 HAP courses,
Yes.
and that's your 4.
That's correct. So how many people know where they are in a language? Where you're placed? No.
I have a question on that.
I want to take 101.
I got the score,
Uh-huh.
but they never emailed me about the presentation.
Yeah,
So
you should email them back.
I never got like email this person.
Well, okay, well, I'll show you where to find them, right? The people, because you should find out what your placement is. Although you know that for language placements, they put you in a particular class, you're required to take that level or above, but the first week they do an assessment, and if you're really not quite up to that class, they'll let you go back to an easier one. But you still have to do the assessment stuff. Assessment stuff. All that chemistry stuff to do, all these language things to do. Summer's ruined.
If Oxford doesn't offer the language I want to take for my 2 language requirements, should I wait until like my junior and senior year?
What do you want to take?
I think Spanish would be most useful.
Mhm.
It'd be better to wait junior year.
You can wait till your junior year, sure.
I'm gonna have to
They used to.
They do.
They do?
Yeah, I think so. They
I didn't
used to.
see it on their list.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, they do have Spanish. There's either,
I only see French, German, Arabic, and Chinese.
It's after all.
There's
It's
no
after
Spanish
PE.
speaker, first language is in here.
after PE,
After political science.
after political science, yeah, because they're in alphabetical order.
After.
Yeah, alphabetical order, what do you think?
After society.
It's after sociology. I found it.
For Spanish.
He said that the probability of getting it first year is
I'm really bad at
It's,
this.
it's.
like factor towards the spot, but for QTM, because some people haven't, like, for social sciences, they haven't fulfilled their math credit until like junior, senior year.
Okay. Well, that's too bad, because QTM would be better if you were in,
I got a 6 credit.
unless you're majoring in physics or chemistry.
Yeah.
I had a question about the language. I said first, so I said in June, I wanted to start
It's 221,
which placement?
chemistry 221.
Yeah, you Spanish. Yeah, you don't want to take French, because
What's WG?
they'll say you're at graduate level in French. That's not what you want to take. You want to take a placement as number one that you have. You want a placement in, right? So you don't, if you're just beginning and you've never had Spanish before, you do not have to take
Other is
placement test.
W.
You just
I
have
thought
to
it was
get
Readout
a
Flex or
or Spanish.
So
So,
We got swipes.
we
got swipes,
So is it?
Yeah, so everybody needs to look at major requirements too, right? We'll get to that, but let me answer your question first. So majors at Emory are restricted in the number of courses they can require. So what a lot of them do is they require courses and then they say, and if you're pre-med, you should do la la la. Or if you're planning on graduate school in computational neuroscience, you should do la 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 in addition to the major. Right? So it depends. So I know you talked to pretty healthy people this morning. So what did they tell you about calculus requirements?
They didn't.
They didn't. Oh, good. Go ahead. Because they used to say that that we needed to take calculus 1 and 2.
Oh my God.
Well, 11 and 12, basically. And that is true for currently 18 medical require calculus 1 and 2. But not all medical schools do, so yeah. Statistics would be way better. Medical schools should require statistics. Why? You use it every day in medicine. Every time you pick up a journal, every time you read an article, every time you read a drug company brochure, you need to know whether you should believe it or not, right? Calculus isn't going to tell you that. Statistics is. So anybody who wants to be pre-med should think about research methods, statistics, more than PTM 100. Okay? Sometime in the undergraduate. You gotta hold your plan?
No.
Ava has
Those are the classes I have to take to graduate.
Ava has a whole 4-year plan.
And with all my GERs and ER and pre-med.
Hoo-ha! We should make her come up front and explain.
Wow.
No, I mean, that's what I want you all to have before, I mean, it should be a flexible plan, right? It should be a flexible plan. It should be, well, this is what I think I might do, wouldn't it? Right? Year 1. So before we get out of here today, when everybody has year 1, and at least some thoughts about year 3 and 4.
All depends. So Jasmine said we want me.
So what do you want to ask about?
There are different ones, so are there new ones like?
There are new freshman seminars every semester. They're never, well, some of them are offered again, right? So like I've taught an evolution one 6 times in the spring. I've taught an NDB one 4 times maybe, and I don't always do that. It just depends on how much time I have. But there's always new ones, right? So this Vaccines and Society one that I have up here, that's new this year. The Ideas About Human Nature has been offered a number of times in the past. Let's see, the Ari Eisen one down here, by the way, does anybody pick that?
That sounds interesting.
Bioethics in the this area?
That one.
I have.
Yeah, really good. He's a super instructor. Really fun, really laid back, really interesting.
Is that through the center of it?
Artie has a joint appointment with biology and the Center for Ethics and IBS.
Because I know we have a bioethics graduate program.
Now we have a bioethics graduate. Now,
Is that possible?
it's new. It's only maybe 3rd year. Yeah, so it's pretty new. But there's also a neuroethics program. So for those of you who are interested in MBE, there's a master's in neuroethics. And there's a whole bunch of different people that teach in that too, that also teach in the undergraduate. So neuroethics, and they have a seminar series, they have a blog site. They talk about all the weird things that can happen as we apply neuroscience to human decision making. Really cool.
Could you elaborate on the respective careers of the individual that pursued bioethics or neuroethics?
Okay? Anybody else interested in that? Bioethics careers? Yeah, a couple of things. Okay. So bioethicists often run ethics centers.
Okay,
There's a
okay.
whole bunch of those around the country. They do consultations with Congress. They do consultations with the National Academy of Sciences. So we just had the National Academy of Sciences Bioethics Review Committee here because President Wagner is on the board, right? And so we actually had one of their formal meetings to look at what kinds of decisions and regulations and controls there should be on neuroexperimentation in the next 10 years. So they advise Congress, they advise agencies, they advise major research grants. You know, so like center grants, so sometimes there's a center of researchers that are all working on a particular topic, and they need to have ethical advice about what they should do. They advise government agencies, so they do a lot of interesting things. As well as some of them teach bioethics in academic settings, right? So some of them also do graduate school. I know a person right now that has a neuroscience PhD, a bioethics master's, who directs a program for underrepresented students in science at this university. So you can do lots of things. Most degrees are pretty flexible, so that's one reason I'm trying to get you not to worry so much about all the intersections of majors and choices, but just to think about how are you going to grow, what kinds of things are you going to explore. So, you have a preference on that?
What? I think I'm gonna do a second semester.
Second semester.
Yeah. But on the bio major, it says upper lab.
Yeah.
Is that attached to the class?
Upper level lab is a requirement, so you have to take a lab class that is an upper level laboratory course, beyond 141 and 142.
Okay.
So for example, micro has an upper level lab attached to it. Ecology has a lab attached to it. There are field experiences that count as the upper level laboratory course. Right? Organic chemistry lab is in chemistry. Labs are good for you.
So you're an advisor, right?
Yep.
Like when we get our assigned advisors, is there like we might have you as our assigned advisor?
Possible.
Can we request an advisor?
Yes.
We're the all
Can we request you as a?
Well,
Like
she's
that
there.
is happening,
She's like our
join you now.
tertiary, secondary advisor.
I'm your everybody advisor.
Yeah, really.
I've literally been looking for this conversation all week. Like, someone call my crisis, and I got lots of conversations that just made it worse.
Oh, no, I can make it easier, I swear.
Ever since you said NDB and law.
So here's the.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, thank you, I'm not insane. They were like, talking, like, you're not choosing one or the other. And I was
No, you
like,
don't.
I can't, I wanna do everything. I want all
Well,
of it.
you know, I mean, neuroeconomics is neurophilosophy, there's all kinds of things one can do. Yeah, we'll put some of that on the table. You get assigned a FAME advisor at Emory, and at Oxford you get assigned an Oxford advisor at the beginning, right? As soon as you declare a major, you can request an advisor in that major,
Okay.
right? And most departments allow you to request anybody that you want to. Sometimes they consult them to say, you know, how many people can you stand to have this semester, right? Because MBB likes to assign people. Bio lets you choose. Psych usually lets you choose. And at Oxford, you don't declare a major, so you get the same advisor throughout. But it always helps to have more than one person you can go and talk to, right? But yeah, so yes, I can advise officially for MBB and bio. Not chemistry, not physics. But I can tell you who you should choose.
Ooh, the poetics.
Not probably so. I can tell you who you should choose, but I mean, I can tell you who's good. I can't give you advice. But I'm happy to have conversations with each and every one of you one-on-one about what you want to do and a plan, right? So what I want you to do for a while now, though, is to get some choices down, right? And let's talk about it. Continue to answer questions.
You say you
Yeah. It's
Hey, you know, you should take, usually.
evolution, concepts and misconceptions, freshman seminar, usually in the spring.
Oh, use the concepts. Okay, now I gotta redo everything.
Look at this class.
Pro-based learning and cases.
I have a question about CPR.
Do you have a peer person or are you a point?
That's into.
Yeah.
Get on the Oxford page and look up. And I have up.
Eight people. Either 8 people or joint enrollment counts. That's good. Then you might want to take some other, you know. What it allows you to do is get out of those kind of standard gauge history of everything until 1850 courses and into something more interesting.
Can you tell me about Melissa Curry?
Melissa Curry?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So Melissa is actually finishing up her PhD right now in public health. She works on sickle cell. She's currently abroad collecting data, but she is at Emory School of Public Health, and she was my advisee a whole bunch of years ago. So I want to make you an appointment to sit down and talk with her. That's the things you gotta know. In addition to thinking about courses and majors, you have to think about how you're gonna find interest, how are you gonna, who you're gonna get to know, how you're gonna move to the next level.
So I was thinking
You said that there's an NED class with a lot of, was that there originally? Or was it kind of like they were going to med school and they did bad and they were like, oh my gosh.
So what do you think?
I don't know. I
So
thought
if you took a poll of the entire freshman class at Emory and Oxford, entire incoming freshman class, what percentage would you guess think that they're going into medical school or associated health?
Like
like
99.9.
80.
Yeah, maybe
That 80.
for at least 50% though, right? And so a lot of those people probably started out, right? And they changed their mind. But, you know, it's not like everybody changes their mind because they didn't do well in the sciences. They change their mind because they find another pathway that's interesting to them. They find other things that excite their passion that they're interested in, and they choose to switch their pathways to other kinds of things. Because, like you can go anywhere.
It's consciousness.
This is a great school, so you can go anywhere with a major that you
It's a
do.
great
As long as you don't.
Well, that's
Stay
considered,
with
it's
me.
because we're good in everything. So there's like a particular thing that everyone's so fantastic at. We're pretty much fantastic at everything. It's like you can't go wrong.
Not engineering.
Okay,
Not
engineering.
Not
Red 3,
That does
not blue.
That's engineering.
So red 3, 2, red 3, 2, red 1, 2, red 3, red 2, red, red.
So I'm just project manager for biology 470X, but then when you look at the biology conflict, it doesn't come up.
Oh, that's what it is.
And it's on,
Gender and sexuality. We got swag swag.
what's it called?
Yeah, WGS.
Oh.
We got swag swag, the freshman seminar.
Special
We got
topics
swag
and
swag.
biology.
Yeah, and they're not, the 470s,
Clearly.
yeah, you should know this too. 190s are freshman seminars, right,
This side.
across all disciplines,
This side.
here.
Sociology.
385s and 470s are special topics courses in most disciplines. That means if you see it
Subliminal messaging.
and you want it, you better grab it. Because they often don't get taught again. They are a way for people to try out new class ideas.
Much for India.
Sometimes they become permanent courses, but sometimes they're a one-offer. They're one time only. right? So, for example, I'll give you two.
That awareness.
I do a teaching class for graduate students, to teach graduate students and postdocs how to teach sciences in a more interesting fashion, right? As part of that class, they develop a course syllabus for something that they like to teach. Well, biology won't let them teach by themselves, so I co-teach with them. So last year, I taught a course called Diagnosis and Development. That was a case-based course about 3 different big diseases of development with 2 graduate fellows, and they did most of the work and I just supervised, right? But nonetheless, it was one time only because they were in their last year of graduate school. They both got jobs and they're not here anymore, so we probably won't do that for a while unless I find 2 more interested people to do it. I also taught a course with an MD PhD student called Brewers. And it was about the biology, chemistry, physics, and design principles behind coffee and beer. And it was way cool. The very first day of class, I had 20 Emory students sitting on the floor tearing coffee pots apart, trying to see if they could explain how they work. We did research projects in both coffee and beer. That guy is finishing up the PhD part of his MD PhD, and he will go back into his clinical rotations this fall, so I don't know if that'll get off the field. It was way fun. But anyway, so some of those courses are only offered once or, maybe occasionally. So if you see something that you really like, try to get in it even if you may not have the prereqs, because it might not be offered here. As long as you think you can do it, right? You have to know yourself. I have had a freshman take Bio/MBB 301, which is the hardest course in the MBB major, as a freshman.
How do you do?
All right, and he got the highest A that Ron Calabrese ever gave.
Oof. No mercy.
He did good. He also took a 400-level Russian course his first semester.
Mine.
Because he was just interested in it, and he persuaded me that he would do the work. So I helped him get into those, right?
Was he like 12?
No, he was 17. He's in graduate
I feel
school.
like I had it.
Rush.
He's in graduate school in neuroscience at the University of Washington. Doing very well.
You dubbed neuroscience.
If I'm in Spanish for a constant, I'll be
You can do all kinds
Go
of
on,
stuff.
take Spanish. Can I just be a native speaker? Not take Spanish.
Natural Spanish speaker.
Let's let me know.
I, after some, I decided on
Of course.
and a lot of it's in here, it's like shooting it. Really,
Rise and fall of the future.
I would like to hear if you agree with it.
The rise and fall of Germany, rise until 1790 with Bismarck.
Intricate understanding of morality, philosophy, and things like that, because they don't want to educate robots, because that's what the medical field is gradually turning into.
Yes, so that question is actually, in case you didn't hear it, appropriate to all the pre-meds and pre-health in the room. Right? What he asked was about a statement that Dr. Queen made about ethics education for prospective doctors and health workers. Medical schools and the medical school admission test are changing to reflect a real change in the practice of medicine, where they want you to be much more human and much more humane and much more ethically oriented. Part of that's because of scandals that have arisen in not only the practice of medicine, but also in medical research. Part of it's because they really want to see prospective medical students who really, really deeply understand human nature and care about people as well as diagnosis and disease and disorders. So, yes, I agree totally with Dr. Queen. I also think that medical schools should have made that change 40 years ago. Because then we could have prevented a whole bunch of tragedies. I also think all medical students should understand evolution, and I'll tell you why.
Speaking of med school, they say overall, I've heard a lot of really competitive med schools really want to see biochemistry and classes like that on your transcript. How essential is it really to take those courses?
So it depends on what you want to do with your life, right? So there are, and you can find out exactly which medical schools. There are about 20 medical schools that have biochemistry on their recommended list, and there's 10 that have it on their required list. But remember, the medical school admissions things are changing. So biochemistry is a good thing to understand, especially if you're going into particular kinds of practice, right? So if you're thinking about internal medicine, etc., you need to understand biochemistry. However, you will get biochemistry in medical school, and the Emory undergraduate chemistry program is changing so that there will be a second-year biochemistry course rather than, changes coming. There's going to be there's going to be a whole revolution in the next couple of years in the undergraduate chemistry major, so we're not going to have a year of Gen Chem and then a year of Orgo. We're going to have courses in Introduction to Chemistry and Society. We're going to have courses at the first and second year level in biochemistry, not like the biochemistry upper level class, but like an introductory biochemistry class, an introductory organic compounds, and an introduction to physical chemistry.
Would you say the same for taking anatomy and physiology courses?
I mean, you'll learn stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to repeat that in medical school. So they're not required. They're not required. What is required? What is required to take the MCAT? Maybe you were thinking about that.
Biochem, physics, orgo,
Biology, chemistry,
calculus.
physics,
orgo,
organic.
calculus.
Only calculus is not required by most medical schools. I already said this one out.
You do?
18 medical schools require calculus. Not all. Right? So you can keep on track of that, right? I mean, anybody that is thinking about a health career should be on the AAMC site at least once a month. American Association of Medical Colleges, where they have lots of information for aspiring young doctors about what questions to think about what you should do when, about how the MCAT's changing, about admission standards, etc., about new medical schools. There's 4 new medical schools in the United States last year, 4. Brand new.
I went on the website and I looked at requirements for biology majors, and I saw that we're required to take 1 upper level lab course. What does that mean?
What's an upper level lab course? Beyond introductory. Anything beyond 141 and 142. There are many, many upper level lab courses. Ecology has a lab, microbiology has a lab. Somebody is developing a developmental biology lab, stuff like that. Anybody who's taking biology this first semester? Who's thinking about it?
Just pull it out. You said like a class and pull it out.
Was Oxford students take it?
Is it kind of a weekend above Canada?
For Oxford, it's awful.
Wait, really?
Yeah, freshman week last.
Too bad.
How
many was that?
Keeper.
Who do you want to take, a Wadio or Kate?
They're all the slots are taken up by sophomore.
What about Dr. Spell?
Yeah, Dr. Spells. I
Jasmine
said,
told me.
Michelle Spell.
Is Eladia new?
Eladio is new. He just got hired from a postdoc. really good. Kate's new too. Kate O'Toole is good, new too, but she actually worked for me for 4 years as when she was a grad student, so I know both of them quite well. They'll both be absolutely super. So,
I know you were talking about it before, but how important do you think it is to take chem over bio? Because I was going to do that, but now I'm concerned.
so how important do I think it is to take chem before bio? And this is going to be a that depends answer, okay? That depends on how much chemistry you already understand, right? So if you had a good course in chemistry in high school, you'll be fine. If not, you're going to be working really hard to understand some of the introductory biology class because they have built it around an understanding of chemistry. So if you want to do that, you can. You have to really get permission. But what I would do is I would start playing with the ALEKS system and get some chemistry. Or if you don't want to pay for ALEKS, who has another good site? Khan Academy. Yeah, you can go to Khan Academy and look at all their chemistry topics and do some reviews. But what it means is you're going to have to work a little harder than the other people in the class if you haven't had the chemistry experience, right? And you're right, at Oxford, because they have their faculty size is not quite kept up with how well they've expanded the number of students. Usually there are very few spaces, not none, but very few for freshmen in the biology class. Because it's a great class.
What if I did a BS in chem and then I minored in physics? Would I be able to do, like, would that set me up pretty solid for an astrochem or astrophysics?
Yeah, it sure would. Yeah, so you could major or minor in either one, but that means that you need to start with the math and either chemistry or physics at least, right?
So,
but because astrophysics requires math, really requires math. So you're gonna need a year of calculus and a year of differential equations to do well. But really, you should go and ask Susanna about what her calculator was, right? Because she'll tell you, and she'll have a lot closer idea of maybe some order to take those things here. But you want to take the 151 physics, not the 141 calculus basically.
On 141, that's what I'm kind of plan on taking in the fall. Would you recommend McGill or Mulford? I chose McGill.
So Tracy McGill teaches a smaller section usually. She teaches in a much more active learning style. Dr. Mulford teaches in a much more lecture-oriented and content delivery style. That's the main distinction. Tracy likes to do small group work. She has, for her classes, she's bought all these little whiteboards and she has you work things out in groups and present in class and do. So it's more interactive. Do most of her stuff. They're both quite good. They're very different. So again, it helps to find out about as much as you can about the class and about the professors because you know yourself. You know whether you want to be active or just do homework. You need to find out who does classes in what ways. And work on stretching yourself so you can do both, but you want to know as much as you can about choices. So often, especially beyond this first choice, I tell students to think about 2 courses for each choice and register for one, visit both, and then try to drop added the one you like the best. They wouldn't like me to tell you that, but I will anyway.
When the course catalog says units, does that mean credit hours?
It means credit.
Okay, so if you can only take a maximum of 15 hours and most of the courses are for 4 hours, what should I do?
Yeah, the maximum's not 15.
Well, I'm a scholarship student, so the max for my scholarship is 15 hours.
unusual. We should talk privately. I don't know of any scholarship that restricts you to 50.
It was the children's services scholarship.
So there are lots of 1 and 2 credit courses as well. For example, Intro to Research, Bio 200, which does not require Intro Bio, is a 2 credit course. Okay, there's art courses that are 2 credit courses. There's some that health is health 2, I can't remember. They just changed it. Health is something different. Health is something different. Yeah.
How well do you know the Oxford calculus teachers?
Pretty reasonably well.
Okay. So I took AP Calc.
And a lot of the biology, chemistry, and psych ones, but some of them.
Okay. Well, like for fall semester, Holgan and Bailey are teaching Calc 1, but then there's Calc 2 taught by Chen, and three of my professors says that of the 3, Chen is the best, and I know whichever one I do, like I'm going to work very hard. So,
Yeah, you just need to have your backup plan. Chen is actually the more relates more things to the real world.
okay.
So most students like better. The other 2 are very structured.
From those 2, from Bailey and Holgan.
They're pretty much the same.
Okay.
Pretty much the same. So yeah, so there's lots of things you need to want to think about, right?
Do you know about the Oxford Chemistry Department?
Sure.
Well,
I'm working very closely with them. We have a grant together.
so like, can you tell me about Patrick Sedin or Powell?
Oh yeah.
Like their teaching styles or
So Nicole is the one that's working the closest, Nicole Powell is working the closest with us on the grant. And she is relatively young, pretty new, I mean, a couple years at Oxford, but she's really, really good, very interactive. For lab, for intro, for Gen Chem, we're going to have Sean Noe, who graduated from our chemistry department here, and also was in one of my grant-funded programs for a couple of years. So he's really, really good at lab. Lovely man. They're all good. Okay, Parker is the oldest and more traditional.
They didn't put Parker on like the list of
I've met him personally.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I mean, everybody at Oxford is really loves and cares about students. It's not entirely 100% clear. I mean, some people don't really much.
I guess no jazz.
Do the intro classes count as freshman seminar?
No. They do not. Freshman seminars are special.
Yes.
Freshman seminars are limited to 16 students, max.
What?
Okay?
Okay, so would you recommend?
That's why I said that was counts as small, right? Sam? Who's next in review?
So like for MB, it says like a core class of like foundations of behavior. Behavior is the same as anthropology 200.
Yeah.
So is it okay if you can like take anthropology 200 at Oxford like freshman year?
Yeah.
So that would fulfill the requirement.
It sure was. Yeah. So MBB, it's a fun history thing. MBB was actually built, pulled together by a group of faculty from biology, anthropology, and psychology. So the core courses, one of them's owned by biology, one of them's owned by anthropology, and one of them's owned by psych. And it's interesting to know that about the program because
Those 3 things have a major in. So that-
yeah, well, it's one reason why we made the major, right? A bunch of us we had been running a discussion group, a faculty discussion group, talking about the intersections between biology exploration of behavior, psych exploration of behavior, and ant exploration of behavior. And the group of us that were in that seminar came up with the MBB undergraduate major. So that's where it started, right? With a group of faculty that were like, look, these things all go together. Isn't this fun? Right? So it's a great major. It's also the biggest MBE major in the country.
There's a head.
Yep. As undergraduate, not the graduate level.
So since we get to choose 8 hours from July 29th to August 8th, since there's only 16 kids for that, would you recommend trying to get that freshman seminar as one of the 8?
Yes, your small class should be in your first choices, right? So if you're doing an English class or a literature class for a freshman seminar, any class that only has 20 spaces or less in it,
Did you say English?
put that in your first choice.
English?
Well, English 181 and English 101, which is one of your potential choices, they're all small too, right? They're only 20, and each one of them's topical, right? So English 101 is not a standard course with 500 sections. It's a standard course, kind of, in that they all do writing, but they all read different stuff. So you have to actually look at them and go like, oh, I want to read science fiction and fantasy. I don't want to read that. I want to read The Beloved. I want to read this, right? So you have to pick them by the topic, because otherwise you could get in something that's not as interesting to you.
Have you ever recommended taking 2 PE courses in the same semester?
Depends on what they are.
Alright.
Yeah, so like not swimming and something else because, yeah. By the way, I think everybody should take a PE course unless you're an athlete and you're on a team every semester. Because it keeps you balanced, fresh, and awake, and healthy. Yes.
So I want Oxford, so what if, like, and I'm a native speaker, Spanish student, so, what if my level of Spanish exceeds the courses
That they have.
Yeah.
By the way, do you guys know that you can cross-register at all kinds of other schools? So Oxford students can take courses at Emory. There's a shuttle. You just have to plan really carefully so you can get back and forth. Emory students can take courses at Oxford. And they do because for a while Oxford was the only one of the 2 schools that offered botany, for example. And so if you were interested in botany, you had to take it at Oxford no matter where you were. They also offer the anatomy and phys nursing courses the way nursing schools like them, not the way Emory teaches them. But you can cross-register at any school in the metro area. Did you know that? There's an Atlanta Regional Consortium for Higher Education. Why don't you stand in your notebook? It has 38 schools within the metro area that have agreed to allow their students to cross-register. There's a dean in the college that acts as a gatekeeper about who can do what where, but you can cross-register for courses at those other institutions. So, for example, there was about 10 years when Georgia Tech did not offer evolutionary biology, and all of their undergraduates who were thinking about a grad school major that needed evolutionary biology took my class, because they did not go to Tech. We have an agreement where we have a computational neuroscience program at the undergraduate and graduate level, and you can take courses at those schools. We have a biomedical engineering program at the graduate level, which some of you might get interested in someday, and that is jointly run, operated, and owned by Georgia Tech and Emory. So we do a lot of stuff together. You can take things at Agnes Scott. You can take things at Morehouse, Spelman, and stuff. If they offer something we don't have.
Since you are in the NDB department, can you give me the description for what illusion and reactions is, the NDB freshman class? Because it doesn't have a description, it just says about NDB.
Who's teaching?
I just lost it, of course.
Depends on who's teaching. It could be Hillary Rodman, could be Scott Wendell.
Okay, here it is. Rob
Rob who?
Whitenbach,
Do what?
Robert White Wittenbach.
Oh, Wittenbach, yeah, he's a new MDD faculty member. Brand new here. He came from Cornell last year.
Okay.
Came here from Cornell last year. So therefore, I don't know what it exactly is about, but he's a really interesting guy. I was on his selection committee and I didn't vote against him.
Also, do you happen to know what the art of eating is in the dance and theater? Because there's a class called the art of eating.
Yeah, it's very good.
Do you know like what that entails? Because they literally don't tell you the description.
Yeah, and I know the descriptions are sometimes quite big. So the art of eating is about the design and balance achieved, the artistic balance achieved through food design. It'll be fun. Fun PE classes.
Right, and
Everybody should take one.
skin and scuba diving.
Learning to scuba dive and skin dive. Oh, the scuba diving takes place in Florida. I mean, you know, not the test takes place in Florida. The training takes place here.
Okay, and so I guess they provide like tanks.
Yeah, there's an extra fee for most of this.
The dance and the theater.
Anybody ever scuba dive? Yeah?
Wait.
Anybody want to? Oh, you should. I learned to scuba dive for my 50th birthday. Ah, it's really fun.
Wait, can you tell me anything about the martial arts course?
They do a variety of martial arts. All kinds of martial arts. I mean, it depends on the instructor which one they focus on, right? All kinds of stuff.
And is it like fun, like do I get to learn how to be a ninja? Yeah, there's a Tai Chi with swords.
Chemistry almost always opens up extra sessions if they don't have enough space. Right? So they very rarely turn anyone away. Calculus fills up and that's it. So yeah, so if you want to take a specific calculus instructor, or you want to take, you absolutely need to take calculus this year. Who absolutely needs to take calculus this year?
I'm pretty sure.
Physics people need to absolutely take calculus this year. Math majors, I didn't see any of them up there, have to take calculus their first year if they haven't had it already. Computer science majors need to take calculus their first year. Does anybody else need to absolutely require to have to take it their first year? No.
Absolutely.
No. You can.
I just want to get it out the way.
I'm not going to do stuff to get it out of the way.
No, like, because not to get out the way before I was like, I took it last year and I still have the content, so I brought it.
Okay. So, then you need to put it in your first round of choices. Right? Calculus courses tend to be smaller. They don't do big lecture sessions. They fill up. There are only so many mathematicians here. Therefore, when they fill up, gone. So you'll find out soon. But so, think about your first two choices. I'm going to ask you in 5 minutes to report out your first two choices. Yes.
This is about the biology major again. You can get a BA or a BS. What's the difference between the two and which one do medical schools prefer?
And what did I say about that before? Who wants to report on what I said before? Medical schools don't care.
A BA is more humane.
You have to stay in a French person's school.
A BA allows you to minor or major in something else for breadth because it's less courses. And medical schools don't care. So if you want to do biology major and, let's see, what would you like to call it? Or something else. Anthropology? You want to take a specialty in anthropology, or the new, how come nobody said the new human health major?
I did, we had it.
No one? Okay. Has everybody that's thinking pre-med at least looked at it? You should look at it. Human health, brand new major, started last year. And it's really interesting. It's good preparation for public health, medicine, etc. It's also got some really good courses that might round out another major. So if you're thinking about medical school, but you want to also maybe think about, I want some other courses in other areas. It's a different approach to health, right? Because it's coming out of the new, relatively newly formed Center for the Study of Human Health. Notice the focus is health, not disease. It's going to be a very different and interesting approach. It emerged from a strategic planning committee that was looking at predictive health, which is using all the tools that we have in biology, psychology, and sociology to understand how to predict healthy conditions rather than how to treat diseases. So it's a distinct approach, and you might at least, if you're at all interested in medical school or health, you might at least think about exploring one or two courses from that human health major. Yeah.
Okay, for an
And
MBB
you don't
major,
have that at Oxford. So, yeah.
for an MBB major, for your sophomore year, if you're doing orgo and math, no, sorry, orgo and bio, do you have to take NBB 201 then to meet the degree requirements?
No, you don't have to take MBB 201 first. People take the required MBB courses out of order all the time. So you don't have to do 201 and then 301 and then 302. You can do 302 first. You can take an elective in MBB first. You don't have to take them in any specific order. So as you're plotting out your 4 years, you can probably play with that a lot. MBB 301 is probably the hardest course in there, right? It is the systems level neuroscience course, and it's pretty difficult. The other two are not nearly so filled with information and are a lot lighter, but you can take them in any order you want to. You don't have to take them march through. You know, the only courses that really have to be taken in march through order are in physics and in math, right? So you can't take a 400 level math course and then a 100 level math course. Not unless you really want to commit suicide or harakiri before the end of the semester or whatever. Physics is very hierarchical in the way they order things. Some chemistry is, not all chemistry, but some chemistry is. But the rest of them are a lot more flexible than they let you believe.
So, if you exempted out of your first year writing requirement, are you allowed to go ahead and start your continuing writing requirement freshman year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Especially if you like to write, right? You should. All right. Has everybody got at least 2 courses, maybe 4 chosen for the first semester? Yes. Let's hear it, Mom. Oh, yeah. Did you look at the right?
Okay, so for MBB 4, okay, so it says you're taking so much hair, so would that only be one class that you take?
No, the program in Paris usually takes several courses. So how many people plan to study abroad? Ooh, look at that. Yeah, I read your essays. I read all this stuff about international travel and study abroad. Have you plotted that into your plan? So you can study abroad in the summer and you can study abroad during the academic year. But those of you who are science majors that are not NDB majors, so that's biology, chemistry, college you might go. You need to think about summer instead of academic year because there aren't very many academic year programs in biology and chemistry. Lots of summer stuff.
Do waiters thinking about programs? Like I know other colleges do very nice food,
Yeah, no, we don't really. I mean, you can, you don't have to do everything for credit either, right? You can do, so I remember that several of you are thinking about internships and going abroad to do research abroad, et cetera. Those kinds of things can be done during winter break, et cetera. Just that, they won't count for credit too, but you're not here just to get credit, right? You're here to get internships and experiences, and really widen your horizons and figure out what you want to do with your life.
Is Cal 1 offered in the spring?
Sometimes, but it wasn't last year. So, yeah. I mean, I actually think they ought to do biology, chemistry, and math courses both semesters, but they don't because they don't have enough faculty to teach them.
I had a question about scheduling for like the biology class or like the science class. You have to have a lab too. Do you have to schedule a class for the lab, or the lab automatically on the schedule for the class?
No, when you sign up on Opus, you have to sign up for a lab section too.
Okay.
Right? So when you put in your course choices, if you're doing Bio 141 or Chem 141, you also have to choose a lab section with that. They don't always assign you the one you choose, because labs are offered Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. They put you in an available lab if you got into the lecture, right? So it makes a difference which things you do first, right? So seriously, if you only get to choose 2 classes first, which 2 are you going to choose?
The small one.
I would say the small ones, unless you absolutely have to have something.
So to come back to the 4-year program, so I know the one that they're talking about is the one in France. Their orders are 301, 302, and 201. But what if prior to that I take 201 and 302, but I don't take 301? So it's okay to take it anyway?
Usually. The only times that they're really cracked down on that is for, there's a neuroscience study abroad program that includes a clinical experience, and it's really hard to get into because there's several hundred NDB majors and only 12 spaces in the class. So it's a practicum. It's done by Dr. Leonard and the guy in the medical school together. And so there's only 12 spaces. It's only offered once a year. And if you haven't had all the prerequisites, you're not going to get in.
I don't know if the class
It's offered at Emory and in Maryland. Lots of things to think about, huh?
I heard about something during summer.
Something during summer.
Yeah, a professor takes students at Oxford to like a study abroad.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, is that like specific, or is it based on the teacher? Will the teacher post something, or?
So there are specific courses, and they'll post them on the summer schedule. If you look at the summer schedules from previous years that are listed, you can find what you usually offer.
So they do it every year?
Well, McQuaid does his every year for sure. I don't know that everybody does. But lots of them do. Okay, now, do you feel any better? You feel a little bit better? How the first year kind of out? Why do doctors need to learn that evolution? Anybody want to help me with this? Why did I say that doctors should take an evolution class, that doctors should understand evolution? Yeah, doesn't have anything to do with the requirements, but that's a good answer. What have doctors done since 1940 that has had a negative impact on human health? Name one thing.
Overprescribed medication.
Overprescribed medications. What's one of the medications they've overprescribed? Antibiotics. Yeah. Okay, and so why should they have understood evolution?
Because they don't understand that.
That they selected for antibiotic-resistant bacteria by overprescribing antibiotics. That's one reason. And I can come up with about 20 more.
Well, just prescribing in general. Categorize someone and they give them treatment A, B, or C. It's an absurd methodology what we do.
It's because we don't really understand human health and disease yet. Right? So, if we don't understand human health and disease yet, then some of you ought to think about being health and medical researchers. Not just practical clinicians. Not following somebody else's advice about what we should do with your patients, but deciding on what we can do to find out new ways to treat them.
It's interesting, because Ava and I were having a conversation last night, like regarding what actually is like a doctor, right? And we kind of, after, and this is subjective, right? But after some discussion, we concluded that doctors essentially are just behavioral scientists that are kind of educated to look at someone, diagnose them, various psychological, physical characteristics, and then press A, B, or C to distribute a medication that they may not even understand. And because of it,
in general, doctors, not good doctors.
Yeah.
Good doctors would understand what
doctors
they were
would understand.
prescribing and its implications.
I just found it interesting because, like, for instance, like blood tests or urine tests, any test, like all of that is primarily the chemistry of it all. That you don't necessarily have to understand; you just have to be able to interpret that data. Like what does this mean in terms of white blood cells? But actually, how those white blood cells are discovered and excess amount, that doesn't have to necessarily be understood.
You don't think?
Not to prescribe someone a medication. To develop a medication, yes.
Yes, to prescribe someone medication, you should know how it works. Otherwise, you end up with like the cases where people are on 5 different medications and they're all interacting with things that are all causing other problems.
But that happens
Because their
every
doctors
day.
aren't talking to
That
them.
happens, yeah. That happens every single day.
Or doctors just don't look into it. Like, well, I see she's on this, that, and the other, but I don't really know what they do. So I mean,
Well,
you
but
can.
that's not good doctors, right? Nobody in here is not going to be a good doctor. If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a good doctor, right? Otherwise, I'm not letting you pass by it. Okay? Seriously. And I've influenced in Oxford, too. I'm not going to let you pass chemistry either. I mean, I do think that to be a good doctor, you have to understand chemistry and biology and behavior. I mean, you have to understand that people don't always follow the advice that you give them as a physician. You have to be able to understand behavior so you can help them figure out how to lead a healthier lifestyle. There's a lot of things you have to do to be a really good doctor. And if you're not going to be a really good doctor, then you shouldn't do it. You should find something else to do, get your life better, that you're good at. It makes a difference in you. I'm going to sell that until you're out of it.
You should. Your autobiography.
Well, I don't know about that. But
Have the
I think it's really, 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 really important.
Why not? Like, people could draw it. You can make an interactive solution.
I actually want to make okay, so has anybody seen something called My IDP?
Yeah, we didn't know each other very well. We just saw it.
You just saw it? I didn't know you could do that. You seen this one? So this is actually for scientists, for PhD, people thinking about grad school, people thinking about postdocs, thinking about scientific research. And it asks a bunch of questions, something like the questions you took on the diagnostic career test things that Drew's been talking to you about. Right, something like that. But it goes way beyond that and it gives you a planning tool. I actually want to build one like that for undergrad. That's my aspiration. So not an interactive book, but something like this. But for undergrads that are trying to make choices about what courses to take and what to do. Let's see if I can remember my password. But I wanted to show you what it looks like. I do remember my password today. So rare because I have so many. Really cool thing is, you guys can use this, it's free, but it really isn't very useful to thinking about health careers. It's more useful about thinking about research careers. But the planning tool you can use anywhere. It's free, why not? Right? So it allows you to do a skills assessment, an interest assessment, and a values assessment. And then in career exploration, it actually gives you, as a result of how you answer these questions, it gives you 20 careers that might fit with your interests. And it gives you things to read about them. And then assignments to do, like talk to people about those careers. Choose a career path and set goals on how to get there. You can use this, it's free. So you can actually set goals, like you could do this, you could use the set goals function once you log in and give yourself an account. You could set goals for what you want to achieve by the end of your freshman year, right? And that might be interview a clinician in a particular field. It might be find 5 different internships that I might do next summer. It might be, you know, take a new language course. It might be learn a new skill, learn a new career, learn a new musical instrument. Could be anything like that, right? You can set goals in there and say how you're going to achieve them. What are you going to look for? What are you going to explore? And it'll set you reminders. So you can actually say by March 1st I will blah, blah, blah. And you can set it to tell you in February, have you done it yet? Okay. So you can use this tool. It's not gonna align very well with medical pathways, but you can still use the rest of the tool, right? Why not? Good for you. So you can set goals under career advancement and implementation. You can set finding a mentoring team. You know, you find people that can help you get to your next place on your path. You can set goals about skills that you want to develop or projects that you want to do. So I know some of you have projects in mind that you want to accomplish while you're an undergraduate. It might be a community involvement project or whatever. You can set up your project goals on here and have an online site that actually reminds you and helps you think through that you can go back and change and add to it anytime. So it's not a bad idea to do. Yes?
We offer like concentrations and specializations in certain majors, right?
Yes.
What are the concentrations in bio?
There aren't any.
Okay.
We have strengths.
Okay.
Okay? And the strengths are in genetics, developmental biology, and neuroscience. Right, at the undergraduate level. Mm-hmm. So you can take clusters of courses, but we do not offer any minors. Okay, why? Because there's tons more humanities faculty than there are bio faculty. There's a lot of you and there's very few of us. There's only like 27 bio faculty, right? 20 faculty in English. It costs more.
Are there any focuses in chemistry other than astronomy?
So physics has a bunch of like joint majors, you know, kind of like crossover majors. So that's where the engineering stuff's going to come in, the astronomy comes in, et cetera. So they have some concentrations. Chemistry does not. Chemistry has the same problem we do. They have 27 faculty and bazillions of you guys to serve. So we just don't have a big enough science faculty to handle doing minors, right? But you don't have to have a minor on your transcript. If you want to take a concentration, take a concentration. And then when you write your letter to grad school or med school or whatever, or your, you know, wherever you're headed, you say, I took a concentration in blah, 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 blah. Right? Did you know you can also take graduate courses?
Yes.
Not yet. Until it's your first year. Okay? But undergraduates can take graduate courses. So if you want a concentration in neuroscience of a particular disease, Parkinson's, for example, you can take grad courses in. Probably your junior and senior year, not your freshman year. But you can, and people do. Right? Lots of people do. Every student that does an honors thesis has to take a graduate course. Oh, I know something else new, brand new, coming this fall. Who's interested in cancer? I know there were several.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new 4+1 BA-MS in cancer biology, where you can actually get a master's degree in cancer biology in just 1 year after an undergraduate degree. And you can start taking grad courses for that in your late junior year. Right? There's 4 BS MPHs offered in the college. There's a master's in public health. Some of those can be completed in 4 years. Some of them are 4+1. Right? So you can do an MPH in epidemiology, biostatistics, environmental sciences, and global health. The global health one's new. It's not on the books yet. You don't know that yet. But you will. Coming soon to a theater near you. An auditorium. But anyway, so you can take graduate classes too. Right? So if you want to take a concentration, it doesn't have to say it on your transcript. Right? You just need to know that you want to take a concentration and you take the courses needed to do that. So my neuroscience guy I told you about that's at UW, he took a concentration in Russian and economics, but an undeclared concentration because he didn't want to take the baby courses that led to, you know. Like the minor in economics used to require 2 courses that he got like, yeah, I'll get those, I'll do the other classes. So he took his own concentration, he made it up. It's not only Brown that lets you choose things, it's just you have to know you can choose them. Brown lets you design your entire curriculum. No requirements, right? No requirements. No GPRs, none of that stuff, all individually designed. But you can almost do that here, you just have to know you can.
How do they determine when you like have enough? Because could you graduate from Brown having just taken?
Bunch of credits. Well, you have to have an advisor. You know, somebody has to like. Yeah, it looks okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we do have one designer in a major here, and that's interdisciplinary studies, where you pretty much can design your own.
Back to the
choices.
BAMS for cancer biology. So 1 year you get a master's.
Yep.
Could I get my PhD in cancer studies too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is a brand new 2-year-old cancer biology PhD program here. It is going into its 3rd year. It's really successful so far. It's going really, really well. Great students. And if that's something you want to do, you know, one of the things we can arrange is for you to meet some of the students that are in those PhD programs, right? So if you're thinking, gosh, I'm really interested in Alzheimer's disease, or gosh, I'm really interested in cancer, or I'm interested in epidemiology, I'm interested in blah, blah, blah. We can introduce you to people that are in those programs, and you can find out what they're really like and what they're really interested in. Faculty and students, and sometimes you might actually want to talk to the students first because they're more fun. And, I mean, they're a little closer to you and they can communicate a little better and stuff.
Do you know anybody off the top of your head that is in epidemiology?
Oh, yeah. I know all of them. Did Drew not tell you that I run the summer research program out of our office? So that Emory Summer Research Program, 25 years old. Mm-hmm. Well, for 25 years, I've been pairing students up with people in all of those disciplines. Look up a couple of them and ask them some questions. Who wants to do research next summer or this year? Oh, good. Okay. Excellent. That's a good next starting point. Everybody has some things down for what they're going to take their first year? All right. If you want to do research, I want you to go to the graduate school on our website. I'm going to make you go back to the site you keep. Come on, Emory website. Emory University. Emory University, graduate school. See? Look up front. Graduate school. All right, academics. I went to academics. Now I'm going to go to degree programs. Degree programs, that's what I want. LGS degree programs. All right. Don't you love these stupid little symbols? This one is the website. So there are all of the Emory graduate programs are listed there. Behavioral Sciences and Health Education is in the School of Public Health. Biochemistry, Cell and Developmental Biology is in GDBS. It's faculty from across the medical school and the college. Biomedical Engineering, between Emory and Georgia Tech. That's so. There's cancer biology. There's chemistry, clinical psych. There's 3 psych graduate programs. Anyway, pick one. Who wants to pick one?
The cancer biology.
Okay, we'll do cancer and then epi and then we'll pick something else. Okay. You go to their website for cancer biology. Alright, and you can choose between the groups. Okay. And then you can go over here to the cancer biology website. Alright, and you can go under research for each of them. So the researchers in those areas. Okay. Let's pick genetics of cancer just for fun. Alright, let's go to faculty. All right, so those are all the faculty listed, and you can go to their details, which usually takes you to their website, talks about the research. So if you want to do research this year or next year, I want you to pick a graduate program and go look at their faculty. So that's who we're going to show next, out of the immunology.
If you wanted to research what we both do with the fire, is that what you can still work with the graduate?
I'll tell you about that in a second, okay? Let me, whoops, where'd it go? There's not one of them out of there. It wants to make it go all the way back. I'll take you to that. Okay, epidemiology. You can look at their printable brochure, you can look at their website. Yes?
After the amount of time you said stress.
Oh, they made it hard. You have to click on one at a time.
I know.
I just hate it. Why don't they do a better job of the website?
That's what the thing
right?
Oh,
So
it's not the same time as.
pick at least one faculty member that you might be interested in, and we'll talk about that. So, now, back to your question, what are your questions?
Is everything?
It's just about,
Think about it.
whether or not, like, if we're not decided this year, but we want to work in the
Oh, yeah, okay. Here's the ways you can do research at Oxford and Emory, okay? You can do research for credit that counts towards your major in biology, psychology, NBB, chemistry, physics, and math. But you can't do that until after your freshman year. You have to have taken the freshman level courses. You can do research through SIRE at Emory. It's not at Oxford yet, but I'm working on it. The dean's committed to some. You can do research at Oxford if you're selected by a first-year faculty member. There's a program that pays you for summer research in biology and chemistry and physics at Oxford. But you have to know about it. And you have to impress your freshman faculty members, right? You can apply for sure any summer. Freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, right? You can do it for credit any time after you've completed the intro courses in the major. And you can do as many of those as you want. So you can take, why would you want to do research for credit and pay for it? Well, because it gives you the time to actually do something right. If you try to take a full load, 15 hours, 16 hours, 17 hours, and do research, you're not going to have time for anything else, like breathing and feeding and all that other stuff. Right? If you take research for credit, it gives you an amount of time freed up to actually go and get a good research project done. Right? Oh, I forgot environmental studies, they have research credit too, and they have a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior class that you do that is research for credit that's at different levels. So the freshman year class, you're actually on a group project that's led by a postdoc and a faculty member. And then the sophomore year, you're more independent. And then the junior year, you're on a more independent project completely, right? So they do it a little differently. Anyway, there's lots of cool things one can do. Okay, for those of you who are not at all interested in doing research, we have to figure out something else fun for you to be working with.
Oh, I know.
Okay? How about an internship?
Services.
Interning with a congressman. Good idea. John Lewis is certainly still our congressman, one of them. The Emory Career Center and the Oxford Career Center has an alumni list that you can go through to find Emory alums that are willing to offer internships. So if you have not yet visited the Career Center and you're interested in doing an internship with an Emory alumnus, then you should be visiting them and finding out what they offer and what you need to do to meet some of those people that can actually help you and mentor you on the way. They've already been through Emory. They've gone on and graduated. They've gone to grad school or med school or public health school or whatever, and they still want to give back to Emory students. So you should take advantage of that, and Oxford students. Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna assume you can't intern at the CDC.
Yes, you can.
You can?
Absolutely. You can do a summer research program at the CDC. You can do academic year research for credit at the CDC. However, given their recent history, there are certain labs I would avoid. Anthrax. Minor details like sending live flu viruses through the mail. Jeez. Yeah. There's a couple of people who shouldn't work for it. But they probably won't be there very long. I'm guessing the heads are going to roll. I'm guessing. But yes, you can do stuff at the CDC, you absolutely can. Right? And remember, the CDC does not just do epidemiological investigations. Mr. Rhodes, who works in my office, his wife works over there as a management person. She's pretty high up now, but she started when she was an Emory undergrad. And her first assignment, she was given a pile of journal articles to read and summarize for an article that went on the CDC website. That was her first assignment, right? So she was a writer and a thinker. She actually then came back and did a theology degree. So she has now a master's in public health and a master's in theology, and she's a director level person at CDC.
So I can just keep coming back to Emory and getting masters in different topics. My problem's just
you can do all the degrees that you want to do.
Yes.
So you can be just like my husband. So he keeps going like, I think I'll go back and get a degree in physics, honey. And I go like, really?
Yeah, no,
How many
like
degrees you have?
the master's in
2
like,
PhDs and a master's. Oh, and okay, and so this is a secret. So he got kicked out of 5 undergraduate college.
for what?
Before he settled down. You know, just misbehaving and bad grades and not paying attention. Okay? And then he went and did a lot of hard labor work, you know, working like a truck driver and stuff like that for about 2 years. And then he finally figured out what he wanted to do with his life, and he came back and went, never got less than an A after that. After getting kicked out of college. First he had grades in the everything. Straight A's all the way through, an undergraduate degree, a PhD, a master's degree, and another PhD. So, but don't do that, because it delays you a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But what age and how much age? That part of it.
One of them is in evolutionary biology, and one of them is in epi. And he does biomedical research consulting. So, all kinds of stuff you can do.
I think I'm gonna go to school for it.
You should go to school for it. You probably will go back and do a PhD. That's what somebody
I can do genetic research at the CDC.
Most of them don't do genetics. There's a few that do, but I mean, they mostly are doing bioinformatics. But some do, well, for example, Melissa is doing genetics research on sickle cell, but also other kinds of research in addition.
That's kind of what I want to do, that and like genetic research for cancer.
Yep, it can be done. Lots of schools you can do those things. We're trying to open up our eyes.
And that sounds cool. The only thing they would let you do
Kevin?
McGill?
it does, but I don't know how.
So what he does is statistical analysis.
You know, they don't really care about it.
Ew.
How would you deal with it?
Like health disparities data, like different populations, certain cancers that death with a certain percentage of different
I'm speaking to you.
It's pretty, I mean, it's hard to get back and forth enough, but if you find the right person. Yeah, but we can help you. You pick some things that we can do and something
Because I like Thomas.
Can I take one biology elective
Oh, yeah.
He's not,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to do it your first year, but yeah. Can you take more than one biology course or elective at a time? Sure you can. Just after you've had the intro course, you can do anything you want. I actually had a young lady a couple of years ago who came in as a junior and hadn't had any biology courses beyond 141, 142. And her senior year finished her entire biology major all at the same time. But she had everything else was done, right? She changed her mind. You know, she got to her junior year and she was a sociology major and she went like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something different. I want to go to grad school in biology. Can I do it? And I'm like, that was really nasty senior year. She went, but if I really want to do it, can I do it? I'm like, yeah, you can do it.
Did she successfully?
3.8.
Whoa.
But she had a really hard senior year, right? There was not much partying going on, right? And there's not too much celebration going on. There was a lot. Yeah. You can do whatever you want, right? You can teach yourself what you need to know. You can find ways to ask questions and really take yourself forward. You can do anything you want to do, but you have to plan for some of it. You do not want to plan to take all your biology courses in the senior year, right? You do not want to plan to have the last semester of your senior year be the hardest one here. You would like to enjoy getting to graduate, right? And you might want to think about if you plan an honors thesis, that does occupy a good bit of your senior year, so you want to have as much of everything else done as possible before that. And that's in any discipline. Now, honors in history or philosophy or biology or whatever occupies a great deal of your senior year.
Can you talk a little bit more about honors thesis?
Sure. Anybody have a thought about what an honors thesis might entail?
13 to 15 pages.
No? What?
So essentially, after you complete, I think it's your junior year, you're nominated by your particular department to perform individual research in your primary interest, and then you have to. So you create this dissertation, the thesis, right? And I don't know how much it actually consists of, but then you have to present it to a board, a committee of your department, and they essentially critique and judge you and determine if you should get magna cum laude or summa cum laude.
Yeah, that's right. Honors, high honors, or highest honors. So we do not give honors on GPA at Emory. Right?
What do you do?
There are schools that decide on an honors distinction at graduation by your GPA alone. In order to get honors here, you have to do an honors thesis. An honors thesis involves independent or quasi-independent research in your particular discipline, supervised by a faculty member and a committee. And by January, February of your senior year, you have to present that work to your committee, have them critique it, and then you have to complete it by the end of March of your senior year. So honors theses vary in terms of how long they are. Some of, in the sciences, they tend to be kind of like a longish published paper, so maybe 30 pages. In history and educational studies and stuff like that, some of them are 105 pages long. In the arts, your honors thesis could be designing a new dance ensemble or creating a play and producing it. You can do honors in all kinds of disciplines, right? And I've served on committees in almost all of those. So the other thing is that at Emory, and this is something that's a little weird, we always have one outside person on the committee. So suppose you're doing a biology honors thesis, you have to have somebody from outside of the department. Right? So you could have somebody from education or political science or psychology or whatever, but you have to have somebody from outside the department Because the idea is that you should be able to present your research to an audience of your peers, to researchers in that field, but you should also be able to make it understandable. All right, so you have to have, it's kind of fun, but it does make for an exhausting senior year, so you need to plan ahead and get as much of that stuff done ahead of time as you can, if you want to do that.
When do you get picked to be like say to be
And
picked?
in biology and most of the sciences, anybody who has a 3.5 is allowed to do the honors program. In some of the other disciplines, like political science and history, there's a department committee that decides who to invite. And I don't really know how they decide. I don't think it's fair.
Favorites?
I think it sounds like anybody that has a 3.5 should be allowed to do it, right? So, yeah. But anyway, so it's something to think about. It's a little in the distance, but as long as we're into planning our whole 4 years and expanding our circles, we may as well think about honors thesis and stuff like that too, right? Just me.
I had another question about GERs. I was wondering, well, like, we have to take a pre-health class that's required, but we also, like, you have to take 2 PE courses while you're here at Emory.
That's
Does
right.
that pre-health class count?
No.
It doesn't?
No, because it's a health class, it's not a PE class. PE is activity.
Oh, like you're moving?
Do we have fencing?
Yes.
Yes.
we do.
So,
Yoga.
We have yoga too.
If we take a class that's writing intensive, could that be considered, like, could that fulfill both GRs or writing and is there just like one?
Writing requirements have to be designated as WR courses. Right, so if it's designated as a WR course, it can count, and if it's not, it can't. Even if you write more in this course that's not writing intensive labeled, doesn't count. Or there are some that overlap. There are some double dipper counters, yes. Yeah.
Could those double dipper counters also be used for your major? Or just the?
Yep. Yeah, so you can plan out your GERs to be much fewer in number of courses if you choose wisely.
To take the MCAT, you have, or like to apply to medical school, anything like this, you have to take chemistry through organic chemistry. And over here, like, what's the class that comes after organic chemistry? What's the next class that you take?
What's the next class after organic?
Yes.
If you're a chemistry major?
No, like what, like here there's bio 141 and 142.
Yeah.
What comes after organic chemistry?
Well, so okay, first of all, I already said that's changing. There's going to be a whole new suite of courses. But right now, you would take Gen Chem 1, Gen Chem 2, 141, 142, and then Orgo 1, Orgo 2, 221, 222. That's the requirement for medical school now, right? Many people also take biochem, which is offered through both biology and chemistry, but you don't have to. Or a bio major or an MBB major or psych major. The chemistry major, you have to take much. I can.
For that health class, there's only one we have to take, and it's the one we take as a freshman.
Correct. One health course with peer health leaders that you take as a first year student, yes. And it's an improvement over what they used to have. Big improvement. But you also might look at the other human health courses that are under the human health major. Right? They're different. They used to give an exemption test too. They don't give that anymore.
The question is, which one's more?
yet another test you could take in the first 2 days here and without taking help. That doesn't happen.
So what would be your suggestion for the best chem teacher?
For the best,
Chem teacher, so like, there's been like conflict between McGill and Mulford.
I just think you need to think about the way that you like to learn and the way they like to teach.
Do you know their differences?
Yeah. What did I say earlier? Anybody that was listening?
McGill is more interactive and Mumford is, Mumford?
Mulford.
Well, Mumford
More.
structured.
Yeah, more structured, more lecture oriented. Right? And McGill is more interactive. They cover the same material. They use very similar tests. Anybody that's taking chemistry has to do the ALEX stuff in advance and throughout the class. Right? So if you're even thinking about pre-med or chemistry, I really want you to explore the ALEX thing. Really, really, really. It also counts 3% toward the grade. If you complete it at a certain level before the class starts, you get an automatic 3% added on. Not bad. Gift.
One of the students participating in Shore that came to speak with us, she said that the calculus 2 for life sciences was more so statistics than calculus.
That's correct.
Okay.
Calculus, probability, and statistics for the life sciences. It's like 115, 116 series is called. There is some hint that 115 is going to get phased out, and that there will still be 116, which is the kind of probability and statistics version. But they're probably going to phase out 115, and everybody will have to take 111 first.
Okay.
Just so you know. I don't know. They have a plan for new courses that they're going to develop. Yes. If you want to take 115, take it now. If you didn't hear me say that, I said it again. If you want to take 115 instead of math 111, take it now.
I have a question. Math 115 and math 116, what specific majors does that like?
It works for anything, but it's actually okay for biology, psychology, NDE, anthropology. Chemistry, you'd have to persuade people, but you could probably persuade them. Has everybody picked a researcher?
Yeah.
Let's hear some researchers. Pick a researcher, what do they do? Yeah. Yeah, the graduate program. Who wants to pick a researcher?
I was looking at
Carol Hose in the School of Public Health. Okay. And what does she do? Maternal and child health. What does she actually look at? I can't look at all those things right now. I'm just going to go right out there. And once you know a name, you can do stuff like that. There. Carol Hose, what do you do? I know that. Yeah. So she takes on the class.
Joseph Mans.
In psychology.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and NAD. Neuroscience and behavior. So what does he do? Tell us about him. What the other people are going to do.
He studies memory by pursuing physiological recordings and writes as they perform memory tests.
Yep.
I actually, that was
Wait, so what's your email? Why can't you put them on it?
Hey, UCSD.
Yeah. So it's good to find out where people went to school, because you might be thinking about going to graduate school or medical school at where one of those people went. And that's another thing you can talk to them about. It's like, I see you went to UCSD. What was that program like? I'd really like to find out about it, right? And to answer your question, yes, you can email them. However, I would suggest writing a really structured email after you've read at least one of their papers, right? And understood at least some of it, right? So that you can ask intelligent questions. Because what you don't want to do is just send a generic email, hey, as a matter of fact, you'll probably say this at least once a day. Don't start with hey. Dear Dr. So-and-so, I've been reading about your research, and I even read one of your papers, and I have some questions. Do you have time to talk to me in the next week, or 2 weeks, or a month? Give them some options. They're much more likely to write back to you if you say something like that than if you go, I'm really interested in your research. Can we talk about you doing sure this summer? Right? You have to do some of the work up front.
So should we apply to SURE, or is there an application process?
There is an application process for sure. It is in February.
And then after that, like, do they match us with them, or do we have to?
Now, Emory and Oxford students have to identify who they want to do research for sure. External students, the ones that come from UCSB and New York University and Agnes Scott, they just put in an application and you match them. But you guys, you're right here. You can look at the website, you can go talk to people, so we want you to do the legwork.
So we talk to them, and if they agree, then from there.
They sign a letter, it says they would have you in their lab, right? So similarly for research for credit, in most of the departments, you identify who you want to work with. The department facilitates the communication, gives you the grade if you're doing research for credit, but they don't do all the work for you. You still have to do the work.
So I'm going to Oxford, should I do SURE with an Emory professor?
You can.
Okay. And then also, if I decided to do an internship with a physics professor, but then I decided to major in chemistry, could I switch out of that?
Yes.
All right.
Yep. You do not have to stick with the same lab the whole way through, although you don't want to hop all around, right? I mean, you want to get enough experience, but you don't want them to spend a whole lot of time preparing and training you, and then you disappear one day, right? So you want to try and have an extended experience, right? And the way you find out what you want to do is you do some interviewing up front, right? You do some investigation, visit labs, ask to see what they do, talk to other students who've done work with that person, right? Rather than show up for a month and then disappear. That's not good. Right? Stand you in really bad stead. Let's see, I think you.
Are you familiar with the Grady Trauma Project?
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it for an undergraduate to join and research with that project?
Carrie has six undergrads working with them right now.
And how many people did you try to apply for it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Right?
The Grady Trauma Project.
Grady Trauma Project. But, so let's see, has Orion Keeper come to you guys? No? So Orion is an MD PhD student in Dr. Russell's lab and actually helps to set that project up. At least he was while he was doing his PhD part. Now he's back in the clinic. I'm not exactly this year, but you know, we can set up meetings. So you identify stuff you want to do, then you come and talk to Dr. Cole or me or one of the people on our staff, and we can help you figure out how to set this stuff up. That works for Oxford students too. You're Emory students as well. So, right? So we're happy to help you figure things out. You just have to do some of the legwork and the homework because there's only a couple left. I mean, we do know most of these people, so we can So, yeah, so if you're sitting across the desk from Dr. Marsteller and she goes, are you sure you want to go into that lab? That's because she can't say anything mean and nasty about her colleagues. Okay? So there are signs, remember, I heard you say a while ago that you have to look at your behavior and what you're communicating with your expressions. You have to look at other people's behavior too. Right? So her eyebrows go through the roof, you might think about another person to put on your list. Because there are some people who should not work with first-year students. There are some people that, if I had my way, I wouldn't let your grad students or postdocs. But I can't say that out loud with their names attached to it, right? That would get me in trouble. I can't do that. She was first.
So yesterday a shirt person came and talked to us, and they're part of the FIRST program with Georgia Tech. So, like, is that only for biomedical, like if you're interested in biomedical engineering also? And or can you just tell us more about that?
About what?
The FIRST program, you said?
Oh, PERS.
Yeah.
PERS, no. Yeah, I can tell you more about that. I helped write the grant. So it's an undergraduate research program that's between pediatrics and biomedical engineering. So biomedical engineering, remember, crosses Emory and Georgia Tech. Pediatrics is only at Emory. There's faculty from all of those institutions that, from all those different programs that participate. And we just got a 5-year NIH grant to support 10 students a year for summer research. There's a listed group of faculty, and if you write me an email, I can send you the list of who is able to sponsor students through that program. But we run it through SURE. We also have one in kidney diseases. Right, a renal physiology one that we just got this year for 5 more years. Supports 8 students from Emory and other schools across the nation. So you're not the only people eligible for it. It's not set aside for you. But you can certainly apply, and I think 5 of the 8 this year were from Emory for that program. It's brand new too. We have one in endocrinology that we've made an agreement with the Endocrine Society of America. And they pay for it, and they just match you up, right? So a couple of those are possible. We have an IMSD program, which is, it's an NIH program. It's called an Initiative for Maximizing Student Development, and it's for undergraduate students and graduate students who are underrepresented in science. And that means underrepresented broadly conceived, so anywhere from first-generation college to disabled to underrepresented minorities. And that one also, that one supports you to do, that's only for Emory students and Oxford students, and it supports research in any of the biological and biomedical sciences plus chemistry, plus biophysics, not all physics, but biophysics. You know, it's twisted a little bit because it's NIH money. So. But yeah, so all of those operate as part of SURE, and I helped write all those grants that that money is.
So
I know all the people.
So you don't have to be interested in biomedical engineering?
So, no, you don't have to be interested in biomedical engineering. Most of those grants prefer people that are interested in either MD PhDs or PhDs. So MD only is not a good fit for all of those, right? Now, if you do it early on, like in your, before you actually formally have committed to medical school, it's probably okay. But most of those grants, the federal government gives money because they're trying to encourage more people to do doctoral level work in those areas or under PhD programs. So that's why we got the money, because that's what we said we were going to do. But there's lots of opportunities like that. And they're not only here, right? So you're thinking about going to graduate school in California. you're thinking about going to graduate school or medical school in Michigan or whatever. All of those places have summer research programs. Right? Now, most of them, it's hard to get in when you're a freshman, between your freshman and sophomore year. But after that, if you're thinking about going to medical school or grad school in another state, another university, you should be looking at going and doing a summer research program. For example, anybody from Texas? No Texans? No Texans in the room? Really? Anybody thinking about going to Baylor for medical school? Baylor Medical School? Baylor undergrad? Baylor has a summer research program, kind of like Shirley, it's called SMART. S-M-A-R-T. I don't remember what it stands for. But anyway, the director of that program is a good friend of mine, and we exchange students. Right, so she sends people here, I send people there. There's lots of programs like that around the country. That one is a big one, like sure, it's about 100 students a year. The National Institutes of Health has a summer research program, did you know that? Ooh, you should look. Anybody want to do research at the National Institutes of Health? Do training at NIH.gov as a Google search term.
This is so interesting.
NIH.gov. They have a summer science academy. The summer internship program. They have a post-baccalaureate research program. See this one? They have other kinds of training programs. The summer internship program that they have, as you can see, their deadline is, the application is available in November. The deadline is February 1st. There's about 400 positions at NIH. They're not all at the Bethesda office. Some of them are in the Arizona office, some of them are in the North Carolina office. But if you get a recommendation letter from somebody at NIH, that would be good. So, those people too. We send at least 5 MRE students to NIH for the post-bac program every year, and many more than that for the summer program. So it's something to think about now, because what I want you to do is, before you go home in this program, you should have at least a 4-year plan on the table with some options on it. Like, I might do SURE this summer, or I might go to NIH, or I might study abroad in Italy. So that you have some options, so you can think about them and weigh pros and cons and say, well, if I did that program in Italy, what else would I learn? And I could do some chemistry research, and I could learn Italian, and I could see some art in the countryside, and if I'm old enough by then, sip wine. Yeah? Right? So you can think about all those things, right? And you can have options for every year. Like every summer you should have something on there, right? An internship, a research program, a community service project, international trip, something. Oh, Lord. Bored kids are bad kids, right?
So the pre-health mentoring office was here
Oh,
earlier.
wow.
They were talking about volunteer activities.
It doesn't matter. Volunteer
It was
memory.
the
Career center. Doesn't matter.
But I was looking at
Oh,
some of the programs and
it's like here. Very Erico.
You don't have to be 18 by the time you apply. You have to be 18 by the time you do it.
Oh, it's her.
Did anybody tell you that in your first year, between your first and second year is the only time you can take courses at other schools?
in between the first and second.
Yeah, so the first summer, It's the only time you can say, I think I'll go home to South Texas and take a course at the community college for credit that will count you. You can take them anytime, they just, if you want to transfer them in, you have to pay them back. So does everybody have some thoughts about a plan? A research experience? And an internship? And at least one major, maybe two? Okay. D4? D4. Well, you can write to me and we can talk about it. Or first, then you, Or not. I mean, we don't want to be bored. Depends on, well, it also depends. Like, okay, I never did my story that was on that slide thing, right? But I probably should, briefly, in answer to her question. So the answer to, so her question was, when I think about, people have different opinions about taking classes in the summertime. It depends. It depends on what you need to do, right? I am the oldest of 11 kids. There was 5 boys after me before there was another girl. It wasn't likely that my mom and dad were paying for anything, right? So I had to work every summer if I wanted to eat during the academic year, right? I had a scholarship, and I had work study, and I had a job, but I had to work, right? So you might have to work. If so, try and get a job that expands your horizons, right? First year, I didn't do a job that expanded my horizons. I worked in an insurance company. I hated it. I did learn that I never wanted to do healthcare management, but that's another story. But try to find something that will pay your rent and widen your horizons if you have to work, right? Or if you have to save up money that year so that you can do study abroad the next year, whatever, right? So you may have to choose depending upon your own life circumstances. You also might want to apply for other scholarships so you don't have to do the kind of things that I had to do, because I had to work in the athletes' dining hall at the University of Maryland. I don't recommend that.
I remember that story.
There's a lot of things I don't recommend doing, right? So try and give yourself options that are reasonable and rational, right? But don't overcommit. So the one thing I did forget to tell everybody that I promised you I would say 5 times this afternoon, and I never did, is do not, in your first semester, try to do 5 clubs. Pick 1 or 2.
So 3 or 4?
This is not high school. You do not have to show that you're good at everything. What you do have to do is do well in school this year. So you can't join every club that interests you this first semester. You first have to get your feet wet, right? You first have to figure out how to manage your time and how hard you're going to have to study to do well, right? Because it's not high school. It's not anything like high school. The expectations are really different. And so I want you to, all of you, to promise us that you will work really hard to do well and that you'll balance your life, but you won't go gung-ho, I've got to do every club I've ever wanted to do, plus be on the sports team. And be independent and away from home for the first time and do a bunch of stupid stuff. So I don't think you any of that. Balance. Got it? Okay. I'm watching you for at least 4 years. You can go if you want to, or you can stay and ask questions. Kind of cool. Okay, I'm actually going to show you a slideshow.